All right. So, welcome everyone to our talk today. My name is Haley Craig, and I am a second year physical therapy student, and I'm leading an organization called the Rochester Marquette Challenge. We're raising money to support physical therapy research and scholarships, and as well as to spread awareness about physical therapy research. I am here today with Dr. Beth Cloud-Biebl to discuss the importance of the research, and I will let her introduce herself now.
Hi, everyone. As Haley said, my name is Beth Cloud-Biebl. I'm a faculty member at the Mayo Clinic Physical Therapy Program. And with that role, I'm involved in education, research, and some clinical practice.
Awesome. So we'll get into some of the questions now. First of all, Beth, what is the role of physical therapy in research, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think I'll start out by kind of talking generally about clinicians in healthcare and their role in research. I think it's really important to make a connection between what's going on in laboratories and what's going on in the clinical setting. And that makes clinicians of all different backgrounds really valuable in that research process and really highlights the importance of collaboration between individuals who have more of a clinical background with those who have more of a scientific or research background. And I think for physical therapists specifically, one of the things that we bring to the table is our understanding of movement. That's the focus of what we do. We're the movement experts. And when it comes to investigating research, we can contribute certainly to projects that are going to inform physical therapy practice, but really can inform any type of research that's looking at human movement. So it kind of broadens the opportunities for where a physical therapist can interact in that realm.
Awesome. So you kind of touched on this, but maybe elaborate on it a little bit about the importance of research for our profession and where it may take us.
Yeah, another great question. So, with our practice, we certainly have the goal of treating our patients in the best way possible to help obtain the greatest outcomes that are possible, really helping them reach their potential in their daily lives and in the way in which they move and interact with their environment. With our practice, we certainly have a lot of information and history that can inform what's going to be effective for our patients. But there really is always more to know. And, you know, maybe we have some effective approaches, but what if there's something that works even better or makes the process even more efficient or helps us further individualize our care for our patients? And that's where I think research is really vital, is helping us expand on the knowledge that we have, giving us some more support for the things that we do, helping show us new possibilities, and really being able to integrate high level evidence with clinical reasoning to ultimately create the best individualized plan for each patient that we see.
Awesome. And then kind of talking more about your career and how you've gotten here. How and why did you decide to get involved in research?
Yeah, so with research, a lot of that really sources back to my experiences when I was an undergrad at Augustana College in Illinois. One of my majors was in psychology, and our psychology department and the faculty there were just incredible at integrating research in the curriculum. But there were opportunities where we had to search for literature, where we had to interpret studies, and even where we got opportunities to develop our own projects. And it's through those classroom experiences and other experiences, including my senior capstone project and working on a project with one of our faculty kind of as an extra experience, that I learned more about that process of how to conduct research studies and some of the challenges associated with them and the way that we can apply knowledge to real world questions and considerations. So I have my psychology faculty to thank for a lot of the passion that started to develop. And then when I was a physical therapy student, I came to the Mayo Clinic for that training. And one of the things that drew me here were the opportunities to engage in research. So in the program, I had the opportunity to work with some of my classmates and one of my faculty members on a research project where we integrated measurement techniques, including EMG. I also had the opportunity to do a selective research experience during our clinical portion of the program, where I worked with Dr. Isabel Scarisbrick, who does a lot of neurological research related to conditions such as multiple sclerosis and spinal cord injury. So with that, I was at the bench, so to speak, working at a different level of biology. And through it all, I really just found myself enjoying that inquisitive element of research and the problem solving that went along with it. So shortly after I worked with Dr. Scarisbrick, I found myself applying for a PhD program. And then the rest is history, so to speak. And I really have a lot of people to thank for helping foster that that love for the topic and the approaches and just helping support me along the way and helping me find a good fit for research training.
That's awesome. It sounds like you've had a lot of different avenues to kind of help you get started into the field. For maybe someone that hasn't had that much research experience, whether that's through college or their DPT training, do you think that's necessary, or how would you go about that if you didn't have that training?
Yeah, that's a great question. And um, I think that when it comes to investigating any area of a career that you want to dive into, whether it be education or research or specialized clinical training, there's it's never too late to go down that avenue. I think a lot of it comes down to just reaching out to people who are engaged in that type of activity. So if you're interested in research, trying to find somebody who's doing research as part of their clinical role, or if you're at a larger institution, trying to connect with people who are primary researchers, even if they're not directly in your field, just starting to talk with others who are engaged in that activity may help you start to make connections. I think, again, kind of alluding back to some of the earlier questions about the importance of research and the role of research, anyone who's in a clinical setting sees some of the challenges and opportunities on a day-to-day basis. So your clinical experience is really going to contribute in large part to that ability to develop research questions, and getting connected with somebody who has more experience in research can help you refine those things and figure out the specific ways to pursue them. So I just encourage anyone, regardless of where you are and in your stage of training, if you find yourself being compelled by research or interested, um, just try to connect with somebody who's engaged in it and see where it takes you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So would you be able to touch a little bit on about your PhD research and how that's kind of transitioned into your current research that you're conducting?
Certainly. Yeah. So I alluded to going into a PhD program after I finished my physical therapy degree. I completed that at Mayo Clinic as well in the Mayo Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences. I completed the degree in one of the tracks. So there are different focus areas for that PhD, and my focus area was clinical and translational science, where our coursework focused a lot on clinical research methodology and statistics and things. So that construct gave the opportunity to pursue a lot of different topic areas when it came to research. I ended up landing in an orthopedic biomechanics lab under the direction of Dr. Kainan An. And my focus of my project was looking at shoulder motion or kinematics and spine motion in individuals with spinal cord injury. We specifically investigated changes to wheelchair seat dump angle, so the inclination of the seat of the wheelchair, to see if that would impact what the spine and the shoulder do during activities such as wheelchair propulsion. Part of the impetus for that was with someone with spinal cord injury, it may be difficult to directly change their posture by just kind of giving them cues to sit in a certain way. So we used the seat positioning, the seat dump angle, as a way to try to drive a postural response. And then we were looking to see if the shoulder movement changed at all. I kind of referred to it as the backbones connected to the shoulder bone theory, right? They're all interconnected, so we would anticipate there may be some adaptations. And then the group that I was working with, which included Dr. Kristen Zhao, who still is a collaborator of mine today. She had developed some work with her thesis quantifying or trying to create a surrogate or an approximation of the subacromial space and how much space there is between rotator cuff tendon attachments on the humerus relative to the coracoacromial arch, using that as a marker for potential impingement or a way to kind of estimate that potential. So the primary outcomes that we looked at were that subacromial space definition. We also looked at how the glenohumeral joint was moving, how the scapulothoracic joint moved, how the spine moved, and then did some kind of additional secondary analyses as well. And kind of the main things that came out of it were we didn't see much of a change at that subacromial space level, but we did see that folks did respond in their spine or their shoulder to that seat dump angle, where those with lower level injuries tended to have more of a change in their spine in response to the seat position, and those with higher level injuries tended to have more of a response at their scapulothoracic joint and how that was positioned and moving.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds super interesting, and I'll just give a quick plug that if you are interested in this, Dr. Cloud-Biebl will be presenting on this on Tuesday, March 9th at 7 p.m. So if you're interested, come catch us then, and there'll be further details coming about that. But just to kind of follow up on that, I did my own research a little bit on any grants out there, and I found that you were a recipient of a grant through the Foundation for Physical Therapy Research. Are you kind of comfortable talking about what that process is, just in general terms?
Sure, absolutely. So what Haley's referring to, I was fortunate recipient of one of the Foundation for Physical Therapy Research's scholarships. So there's various scholarships available to individuals in the physical therapy field that are pursuing that additional doctoral training. The specific scholarship that I received was called the Promotion of Doctoral Studies Scholarship, or PODS scholarship. And from what I recall of that, so 2013 when that happened a few years ago, but the application process was pretty holistic in nature. It was looking at me as a trainee and the things that I had accomplished to the point of when I was applying, and I was about halfway through my PhD training at the time. It looked at elements of my proposed project, and so there's evaluation of the scientific merit with that project. And then there are also elements of investigating, what were my career goals? What was my trajectory? What was I trying to utilize this training to ultimately accomplish in my career? And I have to say that the funding was really helpful for me. So I was fortunate to be in a PhD position that had a stipend associated with it. But this additional scholarship granted me some extra opportunities that helped with my training. One of those was the ability to take a really focused kinematics course that was offered from the University of Minnesota, a type of class that we didn't have at the school where I was. So it helped just enhance my understanding of the work that I was doing, and better prepared me for that work, and really understanding the intricacies of the engineering and mathematics behind it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for touching on that.
Yeah.
I think I just have kind of one last question before we wrap up today, and it's just general question. If you have any last advice for either PTs or PT students who are looking to get more involved in research or pursuing a PhD, what would you tell them?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind for me, and this is something that I've gained a better appreciation of over time, is that there's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of ways to find that connection to research and integrate that as part of your career. I went the PhD route, and that's just one of the options. It's not a necessary thing. So know that if you're interested in research, you don't necessarily have to go on and get another degree. Kind of like we were talking about earlier, I think one of the biggest things is to try to get connected with people who are doing research, and to learn more about the process, and then see if there's ways that you can be integrated or support some of the work that's going on. And one additional thought that comes to mind is just recognizing that it's might be different than other things that you've worked on before. So when we research things, we're doing it to try to find answers to questions that we don't know how to answer yet, or at least build a little bit more knowledge in that realm. So there really is a lot of unknown at times, and there's a lot of critical thinking and problem solving that goes into developing projects and trying to optimize methodology, and balance some of the drawbacks and benefits of different approaches. So I think just recognizing that it has some inherent challenge to it, some inherent unknown to it, but as much as that can be frustrating at times, that can also be a lot of fun, especially if you've got a great team that you're working with. If you're fortunate enough to connect with folks from different backgrounds, it's really incredible when you can bring minds together and then tackle some of those challenges.
Awesome. Well, I think that answers all of the questions that I have today. I just want to remind everyone that you can catch Dr. Cloud-Biebl on March 9th. That's a Tuesday at 7 p.m. And we will continue discussing more about her research and get further details on that. Hope to see you guys there.